Today's video is going to be about budgeting basics.
So if you either like money, want to start budgeting, or have a budget that you want to make even better, this video is for you.
Hey guys, it's Joseph.
And Tasha from One Big Happy Life. We make videos about how to find balance, build wealth, and live your happy. So if you want to know how to live an amazing life today while also planning for your financial future, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below.
Today we're talking about budgeting basics, kind of what is a budget, and then step by step how to create your first budget or make your budget better. So let's start with the definition. What is a budget? Well, it's just a spending plan. It tracks your lifestyle. It's like your life in numbers in financial form. Now, that might sound scary, but it's really easy. A lot of people don't have a budget because they're scared of numbers. They say, oh, I'm not a number person, or I don't want to do a spreadsheet, and we're going to get you over that hump today.
It can also be kind of difficult to start, which is also where this video comes in because we're going to be simplifying the whole process. And we have also written a massive but simple blog post that goes along with this. So if you need to read more about it, be sure to head on over to onebighappylife.com or follow the link down in the description box. So let's talk about the real reason people hate budgets. And it's because when you budget, you have to confront the fact that you may not have enough money to do all of the things that you want to do right now. So you have to actually start prioritizing. And people don't like that because they don't want to have to tell themselves no. And so, but one way that you can look at it is a way of creating a life that you love. You get to decide, well, what kind of life do I want to live and how do I want to spend my money? And if your money currently doesn't stretch to fit all of your financial goals and your needs and wants for your life, then you know that that's a signal that you need to make some changes to help grow your income, perhaps with one of our side hustle videos, so that you can live a life that you love.
Step one in creating a budget is gathering all of your important documents. So the key ones are pay stubs, all of your bills, utility bills, mortgage payments, if you have any credit cards. And these are really key because lots of times we sign up for things that have recurring charges and we forget about it. And businesses love that because they know you forget about it. It's like, oh, I want to watch HBO for a month. And then it just keeps billing you over and over. And a year later, you realize, hey, I stopped watching Westworld a while ago.
But it's about to come back on, so I might as well wait.
Now, a lot of people will be doing their financial transactions online, and so you might just need to put together your usernames and passwords for all of your different accounts. Of course, you don't actually have those written down, right?
So to make it go as quickly as possible, you gather all that stuff so that you don't have to get back up and your budgeting can just be really simple. So step 2 is to calculate your monthly income. And we say that you should calculate your monthly income regardless of how you get paid because most of our bills come in monthly installments. And so to simplify everything, it's best to just get your income on the monthly schedule. And the way that you calculate that, I'll just give a couple of examples. So if you get paid every 2 weeks, that means you get paid 26 paychecks a year. So you'll want to multiply your paycheck by 26 and then divide by 12. That's one option. Another option, which is what we do, is we just count 2 paychecks every month, which means we get 2 extra paychecks a year, and we count those as bonus checks, and we earmark them for specific large chunk things like increasing our savings in our emergency fund, or for our travel if we're taking a trip.
Things that don't come up every single month. And they're perfect for that.
And if you have an irregular income, you want to either look back at how much you made last year or estimate how much you're going to make this year and then divide that by 12. And so then you add all that up, and that total is your income number that you're going to be working off of for your budget.
Step 3 is you want to identify your monthly mandatory expenses. So these are the important ones. So it's like your house, your food, your insurance, things that are unavoidable, car payments, anything like that, and you're going to total them up and find out how much you need for each month in that category.
Next, you're going to list your discretionary expenses. And the reason why we separate these is because part of budgeting is, it's possible that you may need to tweak some categories when you get to the end and look at your total numbers. And so it's really good to just be conscious of which of your expenditures are actually required and fixed and which things are really optional. Plus, it can be eye-opening how much you're spending on these discretionary things. So it's important to separate them out. So again, your discretionary expenses will be scattered all about. They'll probably be, you'll have some coming maybe direct drafting from your bank, some on your credit card statements. Just try your best to think of all of those discretionary expenses. And just to step back to, and you're going to be converting all of these expenses to monthly numbers. So to step back to the required expenses, some of our discretionary and required expenses aren't monthly expenses. So you may pay them quarterly or yearly. And so what you'll want to do is convert those to monthly numbers. And one easy way to do that is to group them together by category. Like say, for example, your car. You know that you need to get your oil changed, your tires rotated. You might be doing car washes, title for your car, inspections for your car. All of those things are periodic things. So you put that all under car maintenance, add up the yearly totals, and then divide that by 12 and put that line item as the car maintenance category to keep your budget simple. And you know everything that goes into that category.
Step 5 is listing your life and financial goals and the monthly costs associated with them. So these are bigger and really more life-changing things. So it's things like retirement, if you're saving up to buy a house, maybe some big travel, or you want to move cities even.
Emergency funds, another one.
Great point. So you take all of those, figure out how much money you need for that in the year, break that down into your monthly number, and add that to your budget. And these are really important to have because these are the things that you forget. And you don't want to be forgetting about, our weekly the travel that we're going to have for a week or 2 months from now costs $8,000. Mm-hmm. Well, if you didn't plan for that well in advance, you might not have that money when you need it, and you don't want to be borrowing to go on a trip.
Yeah, step 5 is actually the most important step when it comes to budgeting. And in the future will actually be the first step because you will already be working off of a budget. But step 5 is where your money really starts working for you towards creating the life that you want to be living. So that's where the magic of budgeting happens. Step 5.
Now, I would say that it's also okay to leave some things out of this if it's removed from your paycheck by your employer. Mm-hmm. So if you have your 401k contribution or a contribution to a health savings account and that's just already removed, well, you don't have to add it back in here as an expense if you don't want to, because then you have to remember to also add it back up in your income number. Yeah. And so it gets a little complicated.
And if you haven't seen our family budget for 2018, we'll drop a card up above and a link in the description box. And you will see that our budget does not include insurance, HSA contributions, or retirement contributions. And that's because those all come out before we get paid. So we don't even consider them except for once a year when we're able to actually change our allotment and insurance and stuff. And so that keeps things really simple. Okay, so now you've totaled everything up. And so you're going to calculate your hopefully monthly budget surplus, but potentially monthly budget deficit. And then we're going to fix it depending on what it is. So to do that, you've got your income number, then you're going to add up your mandatory spending, your discretionary spending, and then also your goals spending monthly, and subtract that from your income, and hopefully you have a surplus. At which point you can then decide, well, what else do I want to work towards with my surplus? If you have a deficit, then it's time to start tweaking your budget to make it fit within your current income. And so the first place you'll want to start is with your discretionary your discretionary spending.
Right, and don't freak out if that number right off the bat is negative, because you might have been including things that you hadn't considered before, like those those savings goals. And so it's important that you have them. And this is the first chance that you can tweak things to get right on track.
So First, you start with your discretionary spending, which is great that you separated it out from the beginning, because that in the short term is the easiest thing to change. And then you'll also look at your financial goals, because like Joseph mentioned, some of those things are aspirational that you can work towards, but maybe a little bit too aggressive for where you are financially right now. Then if you've cut those things and you're still at a negative, then the next thing you're going to do is look at your mandatory spending and see what kinds of things you can cut. So for example, groceries would be in a mandatory spending category because we have to eat, but you might be able to cut $200 or $300 off of your grocery budget by using coupons, shopping at wholesale warehouse places. So those are options. And then lastly, if you've cut all of your expenses in the short term and that's still not good enough, then you know that you've got to address the income side and try to boost your income on the short term using side hustles, and on the long term by getting a new job. And then also long term, you can obviously sell your car, sell your house, move to a different lower cost of living apartment or city so that your budget is able to fit in all the things that you want it to have.
Now, step 7, after you've figured out whether you've got surplus or not, gotten your budget in order, is to set up a process to automate your finances. And there are going to be a wide range of these that work for people. If you really want to be hands-off, kind of like we are, we're okay having multiple bank accounts for our different buckets of money, and we use Excel to track our monthly expenses, and that's how we budget. If you prefer being more hands-on, well, there's a lot of financial software out there and websites that are even free. Mint.com is free. Personal Capital is free. And now there are some other really good budgeting tools, but they cost
money.
and it's a significant fee.
Yeah, so we don't do that, but we know other people that do it and love it, and You Need a Budget is one really popular one.
Right. And so what's important here is just finding a system that works for you so that you aren't starting from scratch every single month, because that would be too much work.
And so we're going to just briefly make the case for a more simplified, automated, multiple account strategy. And so that begins with getting a month ahead on your bills. So you're paying this month's bills with last month's income. And so what that does is helps to smooth any potential income fluctuations, especially if you have an irregular income. And then the next thing you do is you have one checking account for your main recurring expenses, and then you have savings accounts for all the different buckets of things that you're saving towards. And then you also have one checking account for your spending money. And so the reason to have multiple savings accounts with buckets is that way you keep you stick to your budget. Your clothing budget is in its own account. So you can't just inadvertently, accidentally spend $200 out of your clothing budget. No, you have to actively say, well, I'm going to take $200 out of clothing and put it into X for X purpose. And that is budgeting. So separating your accounts forces you to budget your money, even if you're not looking at your paper or Excel budget.
Step 8 is weekly or monthly budget reviews. Now, in the beginning, when you have a new budget or you've just tweaked your old budget, you're going to want to stick with weekly reviews, and then as you get used to it, go down to monthly. Now, what you're doing here is looking for things that are unexpected. You want to make sure that the budget that you thought was going to work does work. You want to check your income numbers. Was it what you expected? Are all of your expenses what you expected? And do you have enough in each bucket category? So are you spending too much on food? Are you spending more on utilities? And just make sure all of that is right. The other thing, this is when you want to incorporate new goals or big life events. Say you're going to have a baby. What if you're going to move? This is the time to add that.
And then once you get really comfortable with budgeting, you'll move on from monthly budgeting to what we recommend yearly, which you'll see in our 2018 budget, and then also multi-year budgets. So we will be doing a video coming out soon about how we budget for 2 or more. Currently, we're budgeted 6 years out in advance because Alexis is heading off to college soon. So stay tuned for that for more information. But that is it. 8 simple steps to creating a budget plan that works for a life that you want to live. So thank you guys. If you have any questions, as usual, drop us a comment down below, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, let's
Yeah. Budgeting.
no, not really. Jazz fingers. Spirit
No.
fingers. What's jazz hands? Is that this? I don't
Yeah.
know.